address and emailed me and said, I'm in the exhibit. I'm a poet. Here is Andrew Thornton.
First of all, I want to thank Michael Nye and acknowledge the poetry, both in voice and vision, that hangs from these walls. It's awesome. And when he first walked me through the exhibit, my portrait is the first one you see as you come in. And I looked at it and I marveled. And I said, I figured that thing be hanging in a post office or an American Post. And I listened to the way he wove my interviews into sound bites all together. And I found myself walking away, scratching my head, going, you know, I wish I'd said that. I wrote my first poem in 1992, living in a homeless camp in Houston. I got discovered by an outreach group there, and was given the opportunity along the line to give readings and lectures on homelessness in places like Baylor College of Medicine, other venues in Houston. Through the graciousness of some med students I met, not only did they introduce me to the fine art of brewing ale, but they got my foot in the door at a place in Houston called McGonagall's Monkey Duck, where I ended up doing more or less 4 one-man shows, pulling together stories and poetry from homelessness. But I never wanted pathos to come into the story, so I tried to interject humor into it. And those that know me will tell you, yeah, I got a little sense of humor. The 4 pieces that I'm going to read to you today were all written while I was homeless. And 2 of them are about hunger itself, and the opening and the closing speak for themselves. The opening I wrote while I was part of a church group in San Francisco. I used to get up 5:30 in the morning and go down to a Starbucks and sit on the corner, listen to the city wake up. And I could see a block in the way another very rare Starbucks. They were that close together. But this came to me one morning, and I simply called it Early Morning San Francisco. In the city by the bay, a wild-eyed ranting poet has birthed himself a vision, with permission now to show it. It started as a spark, then so slowly start to smolder. Such a tiny wisp of smoke. Then a flame emerged, much bolder. Then the flame began to speak. You will share things you've been shown, but not quite a revelation. Thoughts concealed but always known. Thoughts covered up with garbage since the start at point of birth. Graffiti bombs of hatred, how some people have no worth. Then the flame ablaze, consuming all the weeds without, within. And from the ground, the truth sprouts rampant, and then the voice, my son, begin. This is called Long Shot, and I can't tell you if I wrote it in the camp or while sleeping under a bridge somewhere. I was doing all that camping out and delivering those lectures and readings. It was amazing. It kept me from getting the big head. I'd get the applause, and I'd go back to my camp. Quiet, and I was alone. Tomorrow is a long shot when you're with no end in sight today. Stuck between a hard place and a rock here every day. Don't feel too much like smiling. There's just no time for play. I'm going to go out hunting for something good to eat. And as I dive in dumpsters, I pray I'll find some meat. I've never gone begging to earn my daily bread. I go through trash and pick up cans. Don't sleep in any bed. Then when my day is over and all is said and done, I just thank God I'm making it without hurting anyone. The next piece is kind of born on what I feel to this day is a righteous anger. Sometime during the year, you'll hear on the news or read in the paper about some gala held somewhere benefiting this homeless coalition, that homeless coalition. And a bunch of people are going to sit around, eat chicken or prime rib, pay $100 for a plate to help the homeless. There was one such one I used to have the newspaper clipping for, I've lost it, about one of these somewhere that also had a wine tasting. Now, you know, most people describe homeless people, a lot of us describe us as drunks, winos, and I'm thinking that's like having a wine tasting for Alcoholics Anonymous. But anyway, I put myself in this imaginary situation where I figured I was going to crash that event. There once was a dinner, a society date, benefiting the homeless, $100 for a plate. I thought that this bash was to help folks like me, so I moseyed on down for to get that meal free. Yeah, I was hungry. I sure needed that meal. Just knew they'd feed me, maybe chicken or veal. When I got through the door, there I was amongst the gentry. Then security grabbed me, said, no ticket, no entry. I said I was broke, but I'd help wash the dishes. I just got the bum's rush. Guess I'll dine on my wishes. This last piece, I feel, ties this whole event together. It was mentioned earlier how people, not trying to paint with a broad brush, but tend to look down on those who are different. Look at that person, he's healthy. Why is he diving in dumpsters? Look at that person with the sign, you know, I mean, where are they slave to? And to a lot of society, they either pretend they don't see us, or we're just an irritant to them. They wish we'd go away. It's called the bother. Beneath the sea, an oyster met a tiny grain of sand. Said the oyster, you're a bother. You'll never be something so grand. Well, a diver brought up that oyster, shucked it open, then jumped in surprise. What once had been that grain of sand was delight to his old weary eyes. A thing of such great beauty, yes, that tiny grain of sand. What had been seen as a bother was the pearl that he held in his hand. Now take this pearl, my daughter. As you wear it, please never forget. They who some people see as a bother may be pearls who they haven't yet met.